So if you have a brain, you have CPTSD, and you have a gut, well, this video is for you because you probably ate pizza, some soda, some candy, and you woke up so disassociated that you felt you were on SpaceX with Elon Musk traveling off to Pluto. And you're like, what the hell is going on with me? Why do I feel so dysregulated, disassociated, triggered, fight, flight, freezy, funny, and I have no idea what's happening? Well, this video is for you because today's topic is complex post-traumatic stress disorder and is often misunderstood cousin that comes over uninvited called depression. Specifically, if you have CPTSD, you most likely also have depression. And you also most likely experience symptoms when you eat highly processed foods because your gut and your brain are directly connected and they talk to one another. So for survivors of complex post-traumatic stress disorder and long-term developmental trauma, your brain isn't just sad. It's been architecturally remodeled to be a grumpy-ass contractor named chronic stress. You're like, bro, how long are you going to take to finish my lawn? And the contractor's like, bro, I'll be done when I'm done. And you're like, I'm paying for this shit? How you going to tell me you're done when you're done? Get off my lawn. And the chronic stress is like, nah, gonna wait here another 5 years until we get this little bush just right. He said bush. So think of your brain like a high-tech security alert system. Trauma flipped that panic switch from in the background to this permanently stuck intruder that's always just ready to pounce on something. And you're like, bro, we're just picking up the dog from the vet. We can chill. Those barks back there, well, there's just dogs being dogs. We don't have to freaking respond like it's freaking World War IX. So you might ask, why the hell does my brain act like this, Joe? There are three key players that I always speak about. The amygdala, which is your brain's fear alarm. Well, in CPTSD and depression, it gets supersized, like hyper reactive. In brain scans, MRIs in particularly, you can see that this area of the brain is always freaking firing. And this is the part of your brain that's convinced that the doorbell is a threat and the pizza delivery guy, well, he's gonna come in the house, steal all your money, take everything that you own, and take the pizza as well. And you're like, he's been here 100 times because I always order pizza and I'm scared to leave the house and nothing happens. Well, that's your amygdala. And then up next is this beautiful hippocampus. The hippocampus is responsible for the memory center of your brain. And in chronic stress, the hippocampus literally, physically, biologically, it shrinks. So when your hippocampus and your amygdala are arguing and having a fight like they do all the time, it's like parking your car in a mall the size of Texas and your amygdala is like, no, danger, 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 danger. And your hippocampus is like, bro, I'm just trying to figure out where the hell I parked my car. Can you freaking relax? And you can't remember because your amygdala is messing up your hippocampus because it's shrinking it from being overreactive. And then we had the prefrontal cortex. Well, this is supposed to be the CEO of chill. It handles emotional regulation, planning, and impulse control. But when you have CPTSD and you got that uninvited cousin depression, that PFC, prefrontal cortex, it takes a vacation and it goes, yeah, the fire alarm's going off, sprinkler system's just busting out even though there's no fire, and that hippocampus, it can't remember how to turn that shit off. So we're gonna sit back and just watch the show, but the prefrontal cortex should be stopping all of this, but it can't because in complex trauma and when you have depression, it literally gets shut down and it shrinks as well because the amygdala is taking over the show. And so unfortunately for CPTSD survivors, this means that you're not just overreacting, you're neurologically predisposed to hypervigilance and emotional dysregulation. So give yourself a break because, you know, it's like trying to figure out a math equation using a 1960s computer to figure out quantum physics. Good luck, and I'll see you in the 25th century because you're never gonna fix that problem because it's crazy to try to use that technology in 2025. Okay, Joe, so what the hell does this have to do with your gut? You said you're gonna tell me that your gut and complex trauma and depression, all that stuff is kind of interconnected. Well, let's talk about the second brain. And you're probably thinking, do I have a second brain? Yes, it's called your gut. This is your first brain. Your second gut is down there. And I'm not talking about the other stuff. I'm talking about your stomach. We actually have a two-way highway communication system, that's a tongue twister, between your head and your stomach called the gut-brain axis. GBA for short, not GTA6. We're still waiting on that. But the GBA axis is driven by the vagus nerve. Wow, you say vagus nerve like 900 times in all your videos, Joe. That means it's important. So the longest nerve in your body is the vagus nerve, and it directly connects your brainstem all the way to the major organs in your body. In fact, the gut is full of trillions of tiny opinionated residents called microbiome. These little guys produce about 90% of your body's serotonin, and serotonin can be remembered as the happy chemical that's produced in your gut. So when you're under chronic trauma stress, your body pumps out stress hormones like cortisol. This chemical barrage is super bad news for your gut because it just eats away at all the good bacteria or all the microbiome in your gut, which makes you feel like absolute chaotic shit. Hence, if you have a very unhealthy diet on top of trauma and a little bit of that depression, you feel like absolute crap when you have a weekend of drinking, eating fries, potato chips, pizza, and God knows what else you're gonna eat. And then Monday comes and you're like, bro, I feel freezy, foggy, disassociated, and I'm back on the ship of the Elon Musk going to Pluto. Not a good combination. So when you have a messed up microbiome, when you have a messed up gut, it means less happy juice productivity. Hello, depression. Stress weakens your intestinal lining, something called a leaky gut. That's what the medical professionals like to call it, which basically ramps up the inflammation throughout your body, including your brain. So inflammation is like pouring gasoline on the fire of depression and trauma. And you probably can imagine how that's going to work out. So depression from CPTSD isn't just in your head, it's in your gut, throwing an absolute tantrum over the lack of structure and good bacteria. We already established the brain-gut connection on why we're so hypervigilant when we have CPTSD and that little cousin depression. So Mr. Joe, can you tell us how the fuck we heal this? Bro, you ain't got to curse. I was going to get there. So first and foremost, you need trauma-informed care from a therapist that knows what the hell they doing when it comes to system regulation from a nervous system standpoint, a brain health standpoint, neuroscience standpoint. Because some people say we're trauma informed, but they can't tell you anything about the neuroscience or the gut health side of it or the brain regional deficiencies and hyperactivities of complex trauma. So here are a couple modalities that might help you try to get started. First, you want to go to trauma-focused CBT, cognitive behavioral therapy, which helps identify those little tricky triggers that keep those behavioral patterns just overreacting and just playing this ruminated song of help me, help me, help me, help me, when you actually just relax and you're chilling and your body's just super tight for no reason. And then you have EMDR, which helps reprocess your traumatic memories. But I like to say EMDR is more for folks who are ready to talk about their trauma, because sometimes if you're not ready and your body doesn't feel safe speaking about trauma, you're going to just re-traumatize yourself over and over and over again, and you're not going to get the help that you need. Up next, we have dialectical behavioral therapy, DBT for short. And what DBT does, it helps you emotionally regulate by teaching you very concrete skills in order to manage intense mood swings that usually come with CPTSD. And then one of my favorite is for folks who need safety first, is somatic experiencing or somatic healing. And that takes a body first approach. So we're going to work with your nervous system in order to create safety, resources. So when you get to the point where you have to talk about the trauma, you'll be ready without disassociating and triggering the hell out of yourself and leaving the therapist's office like, bro, I feel like absolute dog shit for the next week. And then you wonder why I'm not healing. So remember that highway between your brain and your gut? Well, it can send common traffic down it. And I'm going to tell you the practical ways of how to do that. So the vagus nerve hack is belly breathing. This has been scientifically proven. If you inhale really deep into your belly, you hold it and slowly exhale. Long exhales tell your nervous system, hey bro, the bear attack is over. Calm down. And then movement, gentle exercises like walking or yoga. It's not about just being a gym hero, although once you get more advanced, you can do more strenuous workouts, but it's about slow, steady, stress relieving energy that you do get when you walk and you do yoga and stretches, because your body is holding on to this undischarged traumatic energy that lives within your nervous system. So let's talk about how to make the gut residents even more happy. So time to make your gut residents happy. They're demanding way better food. So let's talk about the different foods that actually will make you feel much less depressed and much less dysregulated. Up next is probiotics and prebiotics. It's basically good food for your gut that's gonna feed the good microbiome and get rid of that bad bacteria within your gut. So think of fermented foods like yogurt, kimchi, or sauerkraut. Also really high fibrous foods like vegetables, fruits, and whole grains, perfect for your gut. Hydration. I know a lot of my friends be like, yo bro, there's water and soda, and I'm like, yeah, there's also like 900 grams of sugar in soda as well. So drink straight up water, because the more hydrated you are, the more you're gonna feed that gut biome, and it's gonna be really good for your body overall, and it's just healthy to do. So remember, healing for CPTSD and depression is the hardest work you'll ever do, but you're 100% worth it. And as you do it, you're gonna literally rewire the hardware within your internal system, basically turning your body to an internalized pharmacy system that works for you and not against you. So be kind to yourself, because you're not just a trauma survivor, you're a trauma thriver. And with time and patience, you got this. Leave that like, leave that comment, and leave your subscription, because this video was kind of cool. So catch you later. Awkward goodbyes are probably the best goodbyes, I think.